All right, so we're live again here. This is my second first look at the second half of these two guys talking up here. If you don't know, this guy is Joel Webbon. He's a controversial pastor. I believe his church is somewhere down near Austin. I don't know that it's in Austin proper. And this other dude over here is Nick Fuentes. I guess he has something to do with the movement called America First, since the title of the video, is Christian Nationalism Meets America First. The Christian nationalist person on this video is going to be the pastor. That's Mr. Webbon. To be honest, I don't watch a lot of his stuff. I did for a while back. I've got too much stuff that I look at, and his is he's got some takes I don't agree with, like probably anybody else on the planet. This other dude, Fuentes, I heard his name pop up. Gosh, I think it was pre-COVID, and I watched a few minutes of a couple of his videos, and I'm not gonna lie, he was sitting like at a news desk or something, and he just seemed kind of goofy to me. I didn't watch him because he was goofy to me. I didn't see anything that he said that was really controversial, although a lot of people accuse him of a lot of controversial stuff. That said, I don't know much about him other than he's not liked by the establishment. And the only reason I'm watching these is because people are absolutely losing their minds that Joel Webbon is sitting down and talking with this guy. And so I thought, well, maybe it's time to become a little more informed. I know what Joel's about, and I don't disagree with him on some things. I do on others. But I don't know anything about... I've not seen anything, much of anything, about Fuentes where it's actually Fuentes speaking. So I thought... Oh, this is my bicycle seat back there in the background. I thought I would just be honest and look at it and see what happens. I tend to, people that are alive, not historical figures as much necessarily, but I tend to try to make my own opinion on people and not just judge based on, make my final judgment based on the things that others have said about them. So, all that said, we've got, looks like 27 minutes left of this, and we'll let it play, and I'll give comments. I think they were talking about the Constitution and the Nicene Creed, and how the intent of the founders was not to make sure they had a country where millions of Hindus and Muslims could come and worship openly.
The Constitution, let's start with that. Name the Lord Jesus Christ. Then let's have the first 10 amendments and the actual authorial intent. Let's maybe get rid of a few of the latter ones or amend them. And, and then let's actually legislate, not a deep.
Now, one of the things I have seen Joel say, what he commented there, said get rid of some of the latter ones. That's one of his more controversial takes, because he wants to repeal the, is it the 19th? He doesn't think women should be able to vote. And the way people's head explodes when he brings that up, I sometimes think that he does that just to get a rise out of somebody. When I was younger, that was something that people would do. I'm sure it still happens, but you have to learn that you just don't react to that kind of stuff, and 9 times out of 10 people will quit doing it. basically reacting, having a complete conniption when he says that he doesn't think women should vote, just encourages that.
Police state, but with gradations and using prudence and also compassion, and recognizing that the first table of the law, actually some of those things are not just sins but crimes, and then other things are just sins, and the state has no business in it. And by God, we could have our home again. You know, it'd be really nice. So that's, to me, Christian nationalism, America first. Can you?
Okay, so I guess what we're going to do here is we're going to hear Nick's vision. I don't even know if America First is an organization or it's just a way of thinking about the country. Maybe I'm fixing to find out.
Talk to us about that.
Yes. You know, I call myself America First because when we talk about who we are, you know, what is our grouping, people tend to say we're conservative or right wing.
Right.
And I heard that my whole life. And I always identified as a conservative or libertarian or right wing or something. And these are terms that increasingly don't really have meaning. What actually does that mean? And people have to ask themselves, what is a conservative? Because now we're being told it's conservative to be a religious pluralist in favor of multiracialism, in favor. It's like, so what actually, people ask, are we even conserving or serious about conserving? And then people get to something like, well, being a conservative is being a liberal. It's being a right liberal, a classical liberal.
Right.
It's like, okay, so is conservatism even a tangible thing? And I look at myself in the context of what has happened in the past 30 years, which is globalization, and the globalization of the government with the supranational institutions like the IMF, the World Bank, the United Nations, these institutions that sit on top of our government, as well as the influence of foreign interests, multinational corporations, foreign intelligence agencies, the globalization of the population with open borders, immigrants pouring in, and this is even to your point about the intention of the Constitution. Was it intended for there to be millions of Indians, Chinese, and foreigners here? The answer is no. We're becoming globalized in terms of the demographics and the globalization of the economy through free trade, which is the interdependence of the United States with China, Mexico, Canada, these supply chains which make us dependent on other countries. And so it's in the context of globalization that I don't feel like a conservative.
Okay, I haven't heard anything too outrageous from him. That was a fairly good description of some of the stuff that's going on with the global setting. I would comment, and he may talk about this later. I do notice that the whole we've got to have open borders and stuff, that really only applies to Western civilizations at this point in time. You know, I mean, you've got the Chinese government just forcing, are they Uyghur Muslims into camps, and you don't ever see anybody outside of a few activists ever complaining about that or telling the Chinese that they need to be more open-minded and more culturally diverse and all that stuff. It's just something that I've seen in the West. Will continue.
Where they're preoccupied with limiting the size of government or vague appeals to family values, which become more vague and generic all the time. You could say that 20 years ago, to be conservative was to be Christian. Now in 2025, if you ask Turning Point USA, they say it's ethical monotheism.
Let me go back to hear what he said that they would say that was. I find it interesting that he had to bring up Turning Point USA.
Now in 2025, if you ask Turning Point USA, they say it's ethical monotheism. They have to say that to accommodate Jews, Muslims, Hindus.
That's terrible.
Right?
What are you conserving?
It's like arguably 100 years ago, maybe it was Presbyterian or Episcopalian,
Right.
like a very American denomination. Then it became like, well, we're one nation under God, Christian God. Now it's like ethical monotheism. I wonder what it'll be like in 100 years when we have like polytheism and
Right.
pagans. It'll just be like all they'd be like deists or something.
Right. Yeah.
And so anyway, I look at conservatives as basically they're just not speaking the same language anymore. It doesn't seem to have a hard definition. It doesn't seem to have answers for the actual problems affecting real Americans.
If you watch this, and especially because I've heard this guy's real popular with younger people, but I've not met him, and maybe it's just because of the place that I live. But I've asked younger people, and I've not met most of them. When I ask them, they don't know who I'm talking about, and the ones that do, they kind of have the same opinion of him that I do. So if you are comfortable doing it and you actually hold him in high regard, let me know. You can leave a comment, or I think you can shoot me a message. I'm just curious. I'm curious if his appeal is real out there.
I said, so my real ideology, which is something I was searching for in 2016 when Trump was elected, when Trump ran in 16, he didn't say I'm the most conservative. He didn't say I'm the most right wing or the most Republican. He said I'm America first.
Right.
He said this is about globalism.
How long it takes a beginner like my dad to go from beer belly
Commercials.
to get ripped again with Tai Chi?
How old is your father?
He is 56.
Oh, perfect. But
And nationalism, not liberals and conservatives, Democrats and Republicans. It's about globalists, internationalists, and nationalists, people that want to put the American people first. And in his inaugural, that's where I got the name of my show. And just funny story, when I started my show with Right Side Broadcasting Network, they asked me what I wanted to call the show. And my first instinct was the Nicholas J. Fuentes Show. And they said, well, that's too long. No one knows who you are. No one knows your name. I was like, okay. They said, so you need something shorter, something different. And I really had no idea. A month later, Trump gave his inaugural. And in the inaugural, he said, a new vision will govern our land. It's going to be only America first.
Yeah.
And I heard that and I said, that's it. Like that. And it's because that.
We're only about 10 minutes into him, or so into him, not quite that, into him talking. And so far he just seems to be espousing some political views that seem fairly routine.
Really encapsulates who we are. When I say we and like our kind of people and they, the people that are against us, it's those that that have a sense of American identity, that it's about the American people and their history, their heritage,
Right.
going all the way back even before the founding,
Right.
before the settlement of the North American continent, where we come from,
Right.
who we really are. And putting that first, that's the priority, explicitly identifying as Americans. And even, what was the point of the border wall? Yes, it's to keep foreigners out. But I thought it was bigger than that. It was a tangible representation that said, this is America. That is the rest of the world. It gave us definition in a physical way. And I said, that's who I am. I'm America first. And that's something that Ben Shapiro could not claim.
Right.
The Democrats could not claim. You could even say the capitalist class. And by those, not to sound communist, but the wealthy, the owners,
Right.
the people that own the multinational corporations, and they live everywhere. You know, they have houses in Europe, in Asia, in America. They do business everywhere. They could not even call themselves
Right.
America first. So whether
Because
it's
typically you think it's conservative
I
and
would
liberals.
say
you know,
that sound-
and conservative over here.
So far I would say that sounds accurate to me.
It's free trade, capitalism, you
Right.
know, like, and so, you know, or like a Ben Shapiro type, you know, like, oh, he's one of us. And those were kind of the dividing lines. And we're like, how come things just keep getting worse and worse? Like,
Right.
well, it's like, it's ping pong, but like both sides are really just two sides of the same coin. And you're right. Trump really, in a lot of ways, said like, the reason we keep losing is because both teams are against you. Both teams. Like that's not the paradigm, liberal conservative. The paradigm is
I'm not
the
quite
world
down with
or
that.
us. You know, and I think you.
I don't think that Democrats and Republicans or liberals and conservatives are two sides of the same coin. I would agree that the conservative party or movement or people that they elect have done a very poor job of conserving them.
Saw that early and hopped on it, and that's kind of been your legacy for the last 10 years.
Yes. Well, that's how I position myself, because I look at someone like a Charles Koch, let's say, and say he's not America first. If you're in favor of like ultimate deregulation, ultimate neoliberalism, free trade, the rest of it, you're not really on my team. Even if you're in favor of capitalism broadly or traditional values or something like that. And the same goes for Shapiro or Soros. It was really just about properly setting people on the right sides of the issue. And so for 10 years, I've been creating this space where I didn't, and what's interesting, which I don't talk about too much anymore, but this is very relevant in 2017, is it seemed that there was this.
Pretty cool, huh? That's the laser strike system.
I thought I was fixing to get a chance to pause and give some commentary, because it sounded like, since he said I don't talk about it much anymore, I thought maybe he was fixing to reveal one of his
rounds a week. This
more
is gonna be
controversial
awesome.
takes.
There was no faction or no space for somebody that I would call a true alternative to the right wing. You had the term alt-right, which was extremely popular in 2016. And that label went through a lot of changes. In 2016, to be alt-right meant that you weren't an establishment Republican. Because in 2015, right up until Trump announced, you really had Bush Republicanism, Bush conservatism. And that's just what there was. Individual responsibility, small government, free markets. Like, that's what it was to be right. Even the wars to be right wing. Trump comes along and says, I'm a nationalist, not a globalist. And you just get this flood of new ideas. You get the French New Right. You get the perennialists like Evola. You get white.
Evola. I don't know who Evola is. Sounds like he's fixing to say you get white nationalism. Let's go back a little bit so we can make sure.
It's like Evola. You get white nationalists, white identitarians, race realists, Holocaust revisionists, anti-Semites. You get all these other people that were right-wing, like they were anti-left, but they didn't fit that old mold of conservatism. And so people said, this is the alternative right. This is an alternative to what we're getting. And Trump wins the election. And after the election, alt-right became something very specific. And
So
it
is he
really meant like anti-American.
Is he alt-right? As he just defined it, with anti-Semites, white nationalists, white, did he say white identity?
Anti-Christian, because it was a lot of racialists, pure racialists, that said it's not about America, it's about whites.
Right.
Or people that were against Christianity because they saw Christianity's left wing.
They
From
see
like
it
a
as
Nietzschean.
like a Jewish psyop to weaken the West through like a toxic compassion to eradicate white people.
Yes, and they see wokeness and leftism as proceeding from Christianity, Marxism proceeding from Christianity. And they identified with like the pagan New Right in Europe, or they identified with even some like atheistic or secular versions of the right wing. And so
all new to
I
me.
kind of came to realize in 2017, as Trump drifted back towards the establishment, there is really no space for something that I saw this vision so clearly, like a George Washington national identity, pro-America, identifying America with its European identity, identifying America with its Christian heritage, being very far right, anti-foreign wars, right wing on the economy, but not in favor of total international trade, total free trade, and things like that. And I said that this is where I think actually most people are. I think that people want to say Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
They want jobs. They don't want immigrants. They don't really care what the size of government is as long as it's efficacious and doing the things they want it to do well. They don't want to fight in wars. I said, like, this is where the country is. So that was my message basically from 2017.
I got to say, so far, he's hitting some points that would resonate with me and a lot of people I know. I don't know if he's going to bring up some points later that would make me go, you're right on some things, but I don't want anything to do with you. But so far, the stuff that he's saying here, again, this is not an endorsement. I'm not even endorsing or denouncing him. I'm just listening to him and letting him speak for himself and telling you what I think about it. And what I think about what I've heard so far is, it kind of probably resonates with a lot of people.
And you blew up into the stratosphere. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. What do you, the whole time you were talking, you like Pat Buchanan, right?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. But every Pat Buchanan has his Buckley to come and subvert and lie and slander, which that's, I mean, National Review. And I think, and people still say it like it's a point of pride, like it's a good thing to be Buckley. And I mean, he was even, from my reading, he was even questioned, later on in life, like, do you really think that Pat is an anti-Semite? And he was like, no. No. It's like just publicly slandered him for, forever and totally just, worked and subverted and took him out of the game just because he disagreed with me. You seem to be a Buchanan of sorts. Who are some of the Buckleys? Who are some of the guys who have really, over the last 10 years, thinking back, not just today, because it's easy to think of what's fresh, but who are some of the guys like early on?
Something
who you
stuff
feel
on
like
my microphone.
They saw what you were doing, maybe had an inkling of what it could become, and were like, we've got to stop it.
It was Shapiro. Without a doubt, he was the number one op. And people don't realize, but in those days, Shapiro was worshipped. He was the guy. And that's before anyone was hip to any of.
Oh, I should have let him continue. I'll go back a little bit. I used to watch Ben Shapiro videos a lot until, quite honestly, one Christmas several years ago, or was it Easter? I don't remember when it was. He made a post where he mockingly said that he was looking forward. This is not a direct quote. You can look it up. He mockingly said somewhere when he's looking forward to Christ coming back again so that the Jews could kill him again. And at that point in time, I thought, if you're willing to say something just that blunt against the God I serve, then I have zero to do with you. So I haven't watched him since then.
Saw what you're doing, maybe had an inkling of what it could become, and were like, we've got to stop it.
It was Shapiro. Without a doubt, he was the number one op. And people don't realize, but in those days, Shapiro was worshipped. He was the guy. And that's before anyone was hip to any of the Jewish stuff, Israel stuff. People weren't seeing it back then. And so they just looked at him as like a debate bro. Maybe they didn't even really know he was Jewish or even what that meant. They didn't really know the context with Israel. And so they looked at him as like a very...
And I'm guessing that's that saying comments like that is probably where the controversy comes surrounding him. But I don't know what he means when he says Jewish stuff. So I can't really comment on that.
Very far right debate bro who was a no holds barred debater. Like when he went on Piers Morgan and debated about gun control, or when he went on college campuses and owned the liberals, they saw him as like as fashy, like a fashy based young debate guy. And Shapiro, of course, was a never Trumper. And that is because he recognized what Trump was and like the potential of what Trumpism could become. Because when you say America first, it is basically the inverse of that is like not Israel first.
Right.
Because it's like, well, why would you need to declare America first? Who is coming before America? Well, you know, some people might say the UN. Some boomers might say that. But the real people know who comes first when we talk about the war in Iraq. Who is put first there? And some of these other things. Now, Trump, he meant the whole international system. He meant like South Korea, Germany, because we had troops deployed there.
Focused on
He meant
Israel.
even these companies benefiting from offshoring the jobs or free trade agreements or things like that.
Come to find out now with
And his description of what Trump meant by it is perfectly fine.
hindsight, Trump meant America first over everything, maybe except for Israel.
Yes, right. Literally.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Shapiro, it's sort of ironic, like me and Shapiro in like a weird horseshoe kind of a way, we both saw what Trumpism really was.
Right.
No one else saw it. No one else, like,
That's an interesting
and people were
analogy.
arguing
In a
back
weird
then, like,
horseshoe
is
kind of
Trump
way.
a Nazi? No, he's not. He hires black people. He's pro-Israel. You know, but like me and Shapiro both heard the signal through the noise. We understood kind of the significance of what was implied, which is he's planting a seed here where if you're not kind of brainwashing the boomers by telling them who's a true conservative and who's not conservative, if you cut to the chase and say, we say Merry Christmas here, this is America, we're building walls to keep people out, and we're nationalist. And Trump, in particular, is always talking about the American story. Pioneers, the explorers, the settlers, the industrialists.
He's quoting Napoleon.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
Quoted Mussolini.
Yeah. Oh, did he?
You remember
I
that?
missed that one. No.
He said in the campaign, he
Sorry
said,
about
he tweeted, better to live one day as a lion than 100 as a sheep. And some journalist said, do you really want to be associated with Mussolini? And he goes, I want to be associated with interesting quotes. He goes, I was like, so good.
Yeah.
But
Where's that guy?
right.
Right.
So I think that maybe the deeper underlying thing here is that you hear him talking about what appeals about Trump, and basically Trump not giving a rip that somebody associated him with Mussolini, and just not giving into that. And I think a lot of the people that are starting to take off are maybe people that just say what they want to say, and they don't care what you think or what I think or what anybody else thinks. And that's going to be it's a joke. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, political correctness was a joke, man. People made, you're not supposed to say that. People made fun of that all the time. And doesn't necessarily work that way now. People think they should be able to control others' speech based on their feelings or somebody else's feelings to hearing a certain set of words. And I guess younger people have grown up with that, and this is going to be a backlash to it.
I miss him.
Yeah.
And, but what they feared, what Shapiro feared, is that he was a populist. Like he was really rallying the peasants in an anti-elite message, saying like the problem is the elites, the rich, the government. He was rallying the rubes around the flag and the cross, less so the cross, more so the flag, but there was still, it was implicit. It
There
was
was
sort
Christian
of implied.
rhetoric. Yeah.
Right. And, that's just like naturally anathema to someone like Shapiro. And by that, I mean someone who is Jewish, pro-Israel, like he sees where that's going. So he was stridently never Trump. And I remember that when I was introduced to Shapiro, not directly, but this friend of mine texted Shapiro. I told the story on PBD, and she said, "You got to take this guy under your wing. He's amazing." She goes, "He's a little Trumpy, but you can show him what's what." And the implication is like, they knew that Trumpism was the problem. And that's why it was very important that they assimilated Trumpism into conservatism and that they neutralize anyone that Trump activated, that he awakened.
Yeah.
They wanted to suppress anything that looked like Buchanan, Sam Francis, Charles Lindbergh, the old America First Committee, the Know Nothings. They wanted to suppress that great tradition, which has been alive in America for a long time.
It seems like, first wave Shapiro as a Buckley for you, and then later on Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
Did you guys ever? I imagine you didn't, but did you ever get to talk to each other directly?
No.
No. He just would never, just pretended that you didn't exist.
Yes.
Did he ever name you though?
He did.
Okay.
Once.
Okay.
That was the only time he volunteered my name. Because other times he was asked about me, and he would deliberately avoid even saying my name. He would just.
They do seem to be having a hang up and spending a lot of time talking about Ben Shapiro, when I don't even know that many people think about him other than that crazy woman that used to be on his show.
Say like that person, that guy is a troll. But one time during the Groyper War, at the end of it.
Groyper, I don't know exactly what that means. I do know that people, and I don't know if it's a derogatory or not, but I do know that people refer to Fuentes followers as Groyper. I have no idea where that comes from, though.
It was the most brutal event. It was at Houston. And so he was outside at a small table, and he was literally just mobbed. Like there was a angry mob that surrounded the table of Groypers. And it was the most rowdy one because, at that time he was doing all these events and they were pretty tame.
Right.
And then the Q&A line would form, and like most of them would be Groypers, and they would respectfully wait their turn. They'd have their little question, their rosary, their MAGA hat, and they'd go up and respectfully ask the question. And Charlie would answer. He'd get jeered a little bit, but this one was like out of control because it was out in the open. He was at a small little table, and he was just surrounded by Groypers, screaming, booing him, yelling at him. It was brutal. And at the end of it, he got a question about me to debate me. And this was like, I get secondhand embarrassment. He had next to him like something covered in like a sheet the entire time. He pulls off the sheet at the very end. It's a TV. And he pulls up a clip from my show from when I was in high school.
Wow.
When I said that I didn't like Trump in like 2015. And I was a senior in high school, and I said, Trump is not a serious candidate. He needs to let someone like Ted Cruz win or whatever. But he couldn't get the TV to work. So he pulls off the sheet like, oh, Nick Fuentes, about that. He takes the sheet off. He's going to play this clip. And like the audio's not working. The video's like a classic AV problem. And while he's trying to put this together, people see what's happening and they just start booing him viciously. Charlie Kirk says, Nick Fuentes is a Groyper grifter and I'm out of here. And he gets up to leave and the mob follows him. So he gets up and is walking through the campus getting followed by like 200 people chanting, America first, America first. It was brutal. And that was the only time he ever mentioned me. And I honestly, it makes me a little emotional. It's sort of tragic that I never got to talk to him.
Yeah.
There's like something deeply sad that our clash in many ways sort of defines like the Generation Z dialectic. And it's just a crossover that never will happen now.
I don't know what's funny about watching somebody with a differing opinion have 200 people that follow them around and shout and boo at them. Sounds like shutting down. That's a leftist tactic to not let people talk. that said, he sounded respectful as he spoke about somebody that's no longer with us.
Yeah.
And it's very sad to me.
Yeah, it is sad. Who do you think was worse, Shapiro or Kirk? Towards you.
They were both pretty rough.
Whoa.
I would say that Shapiro really pursued me with a vengeance, and all of his people did too. They were like flying.
Bro, he just said that Charlie Kirk named him one time. That's not really somebody that's after you. Might be somebody you have ideological disagreements with, but that's not somebody that's after you.
Cabot Phillips was a big one. Ultra. I mean, I know I can't swear on your show, but he was a jerk. Okay. His dad, Tim Phillips, ran Americans for Prosperity, which is like this cutout for like corporations to sell.
There was a little clue right there that he just gave us. He's comfortable with swearing. But it gave us two clues. One, that he's comfortable with it, so we're not getting necessarily the full look at what Fuentes is like here. But two, it's also that shows that, and this could be out of respect here, it shows that he can adjust his message to his audience and his tone to the setting, which is a skill, quite honestly, that everybody has to have. I don't talk to people that work for me the same way I talk to my children when they were little. I don't talk to my peers the same way I would talk to my pastor. So that's it's actually a skill that you need that doesn't have any positive or negative connotation to it in my book. But just beware that this is a modified Fuentes that we're seeing on these episodes.
Deregulation. And Cabot, so the guy's like royalty because his dad runs this was a very powerful nonprofit. And he was at Campus Reform, and this guy was constantly attacking me on Twitter. Now he's at Daily Wire as like their editor-in-chief, I think. But it was him. It was Josh Hammer was with Daily Wire at the time. He was always on my case. Elliot Hamilton, Aaron Bandler, like they had a whole clique always going after me on Twitter. But Charlie was pretty brutal too, because they put together like a highlight reel of all the clips compiled by Media Matters on Twitter. Benny Johnson did, who worked at Turning Point, and said, here's Nick denying the Holocaust. Here's him saying he hates women. Here's him saying something racist about black people. And they were like inquisitors looking.
I'm going to go look that up sometime. I won't do it right now. But did you say those things, Nick?
For Groypers and Turning Point, firing them wherever they could find them, firing people for being in a photo with me.
Wow.
So they really blackballed me hard. They all did.
But did you have momentum at that point? Or they could just see the potential of what?
I guess if he had, I could try for years and I wouldn't be able to get 200 people to show up and protest a single guy showing up. Especially somebody like Charlie Kirk. So I am guessing that Fuentes must have been building something, but they did a good job because, like I said, I've never really listened to him.
What you would become. In 2017, Shapiro went hard on me because I saw the potential. I had no momentum. Right. They just saw. It was sort of like Luke Skywalker. Yeah. You know, they kind of saw that I had a force ability and they're like, this guy's going to be a Jedi, you know? In 2019, it was more like Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. It was like, oh, I'm going to complete your training. Because in the Groyper War, I was surging. Huge live stream audience, huge organic following, doing events. And they really just tried to knock me out of orbit. And largely they succeeded with reputational damage, censorship. I was told that a Jewish fixer got me kicked off YouTube. Really? Shortly after that. because as retaliation for the Groyper War.
Wow.
Because the Groyper
I don't know what the Groyper War
was in December. That's when I got my first strike, December 19. And then February 2020 is when I got
Maybe they'll
banned.
cover it in one of their other interviews.
Yeah, so they, you know,
This is the
Daily
first
Wire
attempt.
tried to throttle me in the crib. Turning Point really tried to destroy any momentum I had.
Big difference that I see between, you know, Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro is two. One, and this is a big difference. Charlie was a Christian. Ben Shapiro, no.
Yeah.
And second, Charlie, you know, I wasn't an avid listener, but I would tune in every now and then if something was going viral or see this or see that.
To be honest,
And
I
you
never
see,
really
like,
listened to Charlie Kirk much
you know,
either.
some of the early days.
A few
and
things
then
I've
even
seen.
not that long ago, maybe 3 years, 2-3 years ago, 4 years maybe, where he's, you know, like raising his voice and stands up and starts shouting at someone who's saying, what place do openly, you know, aggressively homosexual people have as leaders in the conservative movement? And Charlie's like defending the sodomites. You know, like his natural instinct is like, they're great. You know?
Yeah.
Like, who are you to say that they can't be, you know, a part of this and leading? And does God not love everyone? I mean, just like every cliche cringe you could possibly imagine. But even that, like, to be fair, he shifted.
Mm-hmm.
He really did.
It's apparent to me that Mr. Webbon here has much more respect or use, whatever you want to call it, for Charlie Kirk than he did Ben Shapiro. Whereas this other guy, Fuentes, when he was talking about him, kind of sounds like they were basically equal as far as he's concerned in their treatment of him anyway.
Yeah. And so, like, when I think of Shapiro and I think of Charlie Kirk, and you know them both, you know, or about them both much better than I do, but one's a Jew, right? And one's a Christian. That's a pretty big difference, you know. But then beyond that, one seems to be just kind of static. Like, I don't feel like there is any evolution with Shapiro.
No.
Whereas Charlie, it's sad because it's a brother in Christ, heritage American, and
Look at the reaction from Fuentes when Joel says it's sad because Charlie was a brother in Christ.
be just kind of static. Like, I don't feel like there is any evolution
Shaking his head
with
here.
Shapiro.
No.
Whereas Charlie, it's sad because it's a brother in Christ,
No
heritage
reaction.
American, and
Heritage American got a reaction.
I thought he had some good stuff. I thought he really did, and
Everything
it's
except
interesting
he's a
to see
brother in
what he would
Christ
have
got a
become.
reaction.
you know, like, who knows where he would have landed. I think eventually you guys would have gotten that debate.
I think so.
I think you would have. Especially, here's the thing, I don't think 10 years from now.
Poor. What?
I think that debate could have
weird.
happened in 2026,
Yeah.
like next year. It's kind of crazy to think. Any final words for this episode? America first, Christian nationalist. What do you think?
I think they're deeply connected, and
Yeah.
I think you almost can't have one without the other.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
So I'm in favor of an alliance and a synthesis of the two.
I'm in. Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right.
For those of you who may not be aware, I have the immense privilege of also serving as president for a sister organization to NXR Studios,
I'm gonna give
which
him
is a nonprofit
his
501c3 Christian organization called Right
'cause I
Response
feel like I
Ministries. Our focus
Since I
with this
did the whole
organization
thing,
is to
I feel
train
like I should
and
probably,
equip
let him talk.
pastors and congregants in the Protestant church, primarily the evangelical church, right here in America. What are we trying to train them in? Well, let's just say we're trying to help evangelical Protestant churches in America to stop being so insufferable, to stop being Zionist shills, to be engaged, not apathetic, but activated in the realm of politics and culture. The things that you've been hearing in this series that myself and Nick Fuentes are talking about, we want to see Protestant churches right here in America apply these things to get in the game, to win our country back. We want to see evangelicals and Protestants in America actually be America first, not serving a foreign country at the expense of our own interest, but serving Christ and serving Americans. If you'd like,
I'm going to apologize. I didn't even think about this. I probably should have moved so you could see my screen like I just did a while back, so you could see this is actually an NXR Studios. Matter of fact, I think I will put myself up over here so that the next time, because I don't really do live streams much at all on here. So I will leave that there so that you can see who I'm following, and I'll try to, or watching, and I'll try to pay attention to that in the future. Let him finish his stuff.
like to support us in this mission, we could greatly use your help. You can give a tax-deductible donation by simply going to rightresponseministries.com/donate. Again, that's rightresponseministries.com/donate. God bless.
Okay, so let's just pause that. Nope, I want to pause it. Kid Rock, Redneck Paradise, and Hank Williams Jr. So, that's interesting. That first video, I didn't really hear a whole lot of extremely controversial stuff come out of Fuentes' mouth. He did signal that he's got issues with Israel. And maybe I missed it, but I don't know that I actually heard him use the word Jews. And I think one of the issues I see online anyway, there's a lot of controversy around that, is that people really don't define what they're talking about when they say that, and they use it as like a vague blanket term. And I'm just not interested in any of that, really. I don't see that as necessarily being the most immediate threat to this country. So there it was. Like I said, I watched the first half. There's a link in the description below. You can go watch it if you want to. If you want to hear what I have to say about it. If you don't, that's fine. I don't care. I'm mostly, like I said a minute ago, I'm doing these because Fuentes is starting to, I'm seeing his name more. So I guess he's picking up some steam. I'm seeing his name more. When Webbon said he was going to interview him here on these, people just went apoplectic. And I thought, if they're going to do that, I need to watch these and probably end up doing a little bit of research on this Fuentes guy. Anyway, that's all I've got, and I hope your year's going well. And I hope, if it's not, that it turns the corner and starts going well. God bless. Stay safe. Stay healthy.